Hi, my name is Simone Mignot and I am a personal and business coach. I help individuals with their personal growth and development while gaining clarity and direction. My approach is focused, God-centered, and very intentional. It's not a quick fix. So if you feel stagnant and you need clarity, please feel free to visit my website, SimoneMignot.com.
Gotta see the kingdom of truth, yeah. Sometimes in life you feel defeated, but it's not over. Hold on, don't give in. You're passing through your testing season. Where is your faith? You gotta win. You gotta win. Oh yeah. Gonna win. Purpose brought you through, yeah.
That you understand that you need coaching to be able to live your best life. And so you own that. My coaching for my life so that I can be the best version of myself.
Hello. And that is coaching. And if you need coaching, you need to go to SimoneMignot.com and do your client intake form so that we can do a consultation session. It works. Believe me, it does. And I'm so excited again to be on the Blue Coach. You know that I'm going to bathe myself today because I have my pastor, one of my pastors from Feltab. He's here with me, and so I'm going to be on my best behavior. I won't behave like how I would behave with my friends. And yes, I'm going to big up Kenil in the house. He knows how it goes. Legacy Production International. We're continuing the conversation around mental health, but this time we're going to be focusing on our children. The topic is children have mental health challenges too. And I believe this is a very important conversation, one we cannot afford to ignore, because sometimes we don't want to have these conversations. You know, it's kind of uncomfortable, but it's better that you have an understanding of how it works. As adults, we can assume that the children are okay because they're young. Them not have the problem. Them not have go to work. Them not have the issues, you know. So boy, go sit on one side, or girl, go take your book. But sometimes there's something happening underlying that we cannot explain, and we want to be aware. Children go through stress too. Them have mind. So they have, just like how you have the health of the body, and you carry them go doctor because they have a little cold, and so you get a little antibiotic. And the same thing when it comes to the mind of a child, it can be sick as well. And so we want to talk about it. What happens in the home, what happens at church, what happens at school, the spaces that they're in can affect how they think and how they process and how they behave and respond. So tonight, which is really is evening now because I'm pre-recording. Ain't no man I like do nothing fake. But man, I stay still tonight. Coming know it's 8 p.m. Yes. But I have the awesome the awesome privilege to be sitting beside consultant psychiatrist Dr. Terrence Bernard, and he's also a pastor at Fellowship Tabernacle. Hello, sir. Thank you for being here and sitting on the couch. It's not that stiff.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's so good to have you.
Yes.
Yes.
I am thrilled to be here to discuss something that I'm very passionate about.
You are passionate about it?
Yes.
I did not know that.
You did not know that.
No, I thought, oh my God, God is so good.
Yes.
That's so
yes.
awesome. But as usual, guys, I want to read my statement before we get into asking Dr. Bernard some questions. If you know your intent, you can transform your behavior. When you are aware of your purpose, you begin to make room for direction and clarity. Your action starts to align with what truly matters, and over time, your path becomes clear. So Read that over and over to yourself and make sure that you're fulfilling purpose. So let's start, Mr. Bernard. When we talk about mental health in children,
Yes.
what should we understand as adults about that?
Okay. I think you're very familiar with the issue. We as adults tend to forget that we were children.
Yeah.
That's one. The other thing is that we also grow up at a different time.
Yeah.
And you find that life has changed over the years.
So
because
true.
we're always talking about the good old days.
Yes.
And, remember when I was such and such a age. So you find that the modern day children are experiencing a lot more stuff than what we experienced.
Wow.
And then some of us also forgot some of the things we have been through.
Yeah.
So, as you say, people think, oh, they don't have responsibility. They just have to get up and go to school and eat them food and whatever. I am the one with all the stress.
Yeah.
But that's not true,
Yeah.
right? First of all, we have to understand, and I like how you mentioned that just as how the children have bodies and you take them to the doctor for the cold and stuff, you have to understand that a person's mental health depends on their brain health.
Yes.
Because the brain is responsible for a person's mental state.
Yeah.
Right? And you can simply have a problem with a physical or medical problem with the brain causing mental health problems.
Yeah.
It's not all psychological.
Yeah.
The brain is a very fantastic organ, and I think when you really understand the brain, that is why the psalmist said, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, because you see, the brain is that part of us that communicates with the intangible. Our thoughts and our emotions are not concrete things, they are kind of intangible things, and I think that's also one of the places where we can get very spiritual. You understand? And so the brain is we have to understand that, but the brain is still an organ,
right? And
so therefore then, if your mental health is not doing well, then it means that something is going on with the brain. The thing that affects a person's mental health, apart from the health of the brain, you have the biological side, which would include the health of the brain. But then there's the psychological side, which is the effect of things that happen to us. Right? And so if something good happens to us, it makes us feel good. It has a good response. But if something bad happens to us, then there is a negative response. Now, we are able to cope with bad things happening to a certain degree, but if the bad thing is extreme, like what we call trauma, right, then it's gonna probably challenge our ability to cope.
That's so good.
Right? And so I'm gonna want to talk about that for a while. But so there is the biological side, there's a psychological side, but there's also the social side, which is the environment in which we live.
Which is a question I wanted to ask you. How much does the home environment shapes a child's mental health?
Oh, a lot. Well, you have to look at the environment at different levels, because you also have to look at the type of country you live in.
Right.
The type of community you live in.
Right.
And the type of home, the atmosphere in the home. And so if you think about Jamaica, we have communities, we call them garrison communities, where people are accustomed to conditions that not even in the Middle East, Gaza.
Oh, Jesus.
You understand what I'm saying? The kind of violence that our inner city communities experience.
I know about it.
Right. So we have to recognize, but you see, some of these things we take it for granted.
Yeah, we do.
And the people who live there are the ones who take it for granted the most, because they say it's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
So they say, I know nothing.
I know nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is that unless you're made out of iron or stone or wood, it's going to affect you.
It is going to affect you.
Even the people who cause the violence, it affects them as well. But of course, they have their compensatory things where they use drugs and whatever, parties and whatever to, you know. So what I'm saying, but when you take away these things now, you begin to see the effects of those things. So if you have a
never thought
child,
about it like that.
right? So if you have a child growing up in a community like that, their mental health is going to be affected.
Yeah.
Straight off. So the environment is important, right? So we have looked at it then, the biological side, which has to do with the brain and the body. Then you have the psychological side, which are the things that happen to the person that
Right.
challenge them, the experiences in life.
Right.
And then you have the social environment. So all of these things play a role. And if you look at each, we can go through each of them if you want, but I'll let you,
Yeah.
you know, ask whatever.
Yeah, it would be nice to hear what that looks like. So we as laymen, because we hear these terms, yes, but then we don't have anything to relate. We don't have anything that would give us a picture of what
Right.
that looks like. You could clarify, what does it look like biologically? You know,
Right.
how does that look?
Right.
You know, give us some picture that we can have a, you
Okay.
know.
So, for example, let's look at a quick biological example. Recreational drugs, for example. Let's look at alcohol. The thing about recreational drugs is that their attractiveness is because of the effect they have on the brain. Right? So if you smoke a cigarette, it is the nicotine effect on the brain that makes it so attractive.
Yeah.
Alcohol is the effect of alcohol on the brain that
Yeah.
makes it so attractive.
Yeah.
Ganja is the effect of the ganja on the brain. So all of these recreational drugs are affecting the brain. And once you're changing brain chemistry, then you're going to change brain function.
Yeah.
And so these drugs can affect a person's behavior. Of course, when somebody gets drunk, that's a clear-cut evidence of a
Yeah.
person's behavior
Right.
being affected.
Yeah.
And you find that certain things, like for example, drinking alcohol for some people causes them to lose their inhibitions. So some things that they would not do
They would
under
do when
ordinary
they
circumstances,
drink, yeah.
they will do when they're tipsy, you know, things like that. And it's the same thing for the other drugs. So there is the brain chemistry that's affected. Now you also have medical conditions that can affect the brain. And so if, for example, if there's an infection that affects the entire body, then the infection in the blood goes to the brain can be affected.
Whoa.
If a person has a fever,
Whoa.
right, the fever can affect the brain. If a person has, say, heart failure, liver failure, all of those things can
Affect the
cause,
brain.
because of the liver failure means that the liver is not excreting certain toxins. The level of the toxins rise in the blood, and the toxins affect the brain. So that's the biological side. So there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things that can affect the brain. Boy, when you
biologically.
don't know something, you just don't know. Wow.
Right.
So even the body is, even the organs in the body, if it's not functioning accordingly,
Right.
that can affect how the brain works.
Right. So for example, if your lungs not working right, you're not getting enough oxygen to the brain function is going to deteriorate. So there's a lot of biological stuff, you know.
Wow.
Yes. So if we look at, I think you'd want us to move on to the psychological, because
Yes.
the psychological, as I said,
Psychological, no.
is the effect of life experiences, right? You mentioned something in our discussion earlier about the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
If you have the loss of a loved one, now that is supposed to be relatively normal in life, you know, and so the loss of a loved one is going to cause you to feel sad.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel sad for a while, and so you're supposed to expect that. You may not be able to sleep well for a while. You're going to be unhappy. You might even feel irritable. You might want to withdraw from people. All kinds of negative things can happen. Right? But after a while, you get over it and you bounce back. But you mentioned a while ago that there were 3 people in succession.
Right.
So when somebody is repeatedly losing people now that can overwhelm their ability to cope, and then that can cause long-term problems. You know?
Yeah.
Right. And so, as you mentioned, our children, you would like to know what are some of the things you look out for.
Right.
right? I don't know if I'm going ahead.
Yes, no, man.
myself.
What are some of the signs that
Right,
you
the
look
signs.
out for?
Okay.
That you know that a child is struggling mentally. Sometimes we overlook them.
Right.
That's what I want us to talk
Right.
about. The things that we overlook as adults, and we say,
Right.
"I know not, man. Boy,
Right.
I must go in bed and or take up your
Yes.
book or whatever."
And not only that, sometimes when we see these things, we might even complain and quarrel with the children about it. The thing is, I want to first address the notion that some adults feel that children should not have mental health problems. You see, because that creates an attitude where if anyone raises the issue to them, they're going to tend to disregard it. And that can be very problematic for the child.
Right.
Because the interesting thing sometimes is that even some of those children that are giving trouble, right? If we were to really look into it, we would probably see that something is going on. Because the thing is that we don't want to look at mental health issues as just being the extreme.
Right.
Extreme psychosis, extreme madness, or extreme manic depression, or whatever. Yeah. The thing is that sometimes a child may just show the effect of a mental problem by simply not doing well in school, right? Whoa. So the child's ability to do normal functions like schoolwork is a sign. Right. So in psychiatry, we like to talk about social functioning, occupational functioning.
Right.
And for a child, occupational functioning is actually school performance.
Right.
Right. So if a child is not doing well in school, then that is a sign.
That's a sign.
Right. And the thing is, no matter who the child is, if the child is not doing well in school, then it is a sign. Now, the thing is that the type of problem may vary.
You're right.
Because a child may not be doing well in school. First of all, you may look at it and say, maybe that child was doing well before.
Mm-hmm.
So if the child was doing well before, then you know that the child is able to perform. But if the child deteriorates in their performance, then something must have happened.
Right.
And so you have to look at it from the psychological aspect.
Right.
Well, you have to look at it from biological, psychological, and social.
Right.
Right. And then you try to troubleshoot to find out what's really going on.
What's at the root of
right.
that, yes.
So the child's academic performance is very important. The other aspect of it has to do with the social functioning now. And the social functioning has to do, first of all, with the child's social behavior, whether the child is giving trouble. You know, children are giving trouble in class, they're causing problems at school. They're getting into fights. They're being rude to teachers. They're bucking the system. Those are also signs that there are mental health problems, and so you have to look at it again. And of course, you have to still look at it from the biological, psychological, and the social side. A person's ability to have friends. If, for example, if you see a child and every day during lunchtime they are off by themselves, because of course, children during break time, everybody is talking to somebody else. They're either running up and down, or they're in conversation, or they're playing games. But if you see a child that is off to themselves, or if you see a child who seems to have a problem getting along with others, they're always fighting. They're always antagonistic, and nobody seems to like this child. Those are signs that
of mental health
issues. They're all. Because you see, a person's mental health is expressed through their behavior.
Right. And
so you can look at the behavior and see. Right.
But some of us, with that being said, and I don't want to always be talking about us as people of God in a way that's derogatory, or are attempting to affect it. But as people of God, we do some things where we say the child have dopey,
demon,
and somebody will be him, and go down
yes.
mother go make mother take off the dopey off him.
Yes.
And those things, because we do not understand what is happening. What would you say in situations like that? How does that affect the child when they are having these challenges, we see them as parents or caregivers, but then we try to spiritualize what's happening with the children.
Well, the thing is that there's a whole issue of stigmatized, and the thing is that if a child is seen as having a demon, there's a sense in which we are kind of saying that the child is evil.
Wow.
Because because if you think about it, how do people get demons? Sometimes it has to do with family history or something that the parents did or something that you know what I mean.
Right, I do.
So there's some sense of evil, and I think that has a negative connotation. The thing about it though is that traditionally mental illness was classified as being demonic possession or an expression of witchcraft.
Right.
And so mental health has already been stigmatized from before. And so you find that even in the cases of adults, cases of schizophrenia, persons who were schizophrenic were thought to be witches. And the reason why they got crazy was because they were trafficking in the devil. They were, witchcraft and stuff. It was in other words, it's the due penalty of what they were doing.
That causes
it's just like HIV. Yeah. Because HIV was associated with a certain lifestyle.
Right. Then because how you do that, then that's your consequence.
So you deserve what you get. So there's a stigma there. And so so if we do that, because if we say that the child is a demon, then we're actually going back to saying that it's caused by demons. Now, as a Christian, I must say that
I was about to ask you that.
You wanted to know if I'm a Christian or not. Yes,
I know you're a Christian. Well, you couldn't have not been a Pastor Terrence.
Right.
But I wanted to kind of say, okay, is there a
to be honest with you, this is a very interesting time in my life, but I won't go into that.
Yeah.
When I became a doctor, I was not a Christian, but I became a Christian before I became a psychiatrist. And so, but then I became a Christian and then I became a psychiatrist, but I learned the psychiatry and I practiced the psychiatry according to how I was taught.
That's it.
But I'm always getting the question, Doc, how do you deal with it? How do you know it's medical versus demonic and stuff? I had a philosophy, and I'm not saying that mine is the be-all, end-all, but the thing about it is that I don't think that God looks at us in a dichotomy, that it has to be one or the other. Because sickness is really a result of
demons,
of sin. So the thing is that but you see the problem is, because I grew up through my Christianity, the thing about it is that as Christians we try to apply our natural reasoning, and so we look at a situation and we reason it out and we say, that look like a demon, but is that a revelation we're getting? So what I'm saying is that if we want to deal with demons, we have to be getting revelation. We can't just be figuring it out. Right? So when I do psychiatry, I just simply reason it out and reason out the psychiatry. But if me now get no revelation, then me now go say is this or that.
Right.
And so I leave it to the person that received the revelation to deal with the spiritual side of it.
That is it.
Right. So that is it.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Don't think any.
Yes, but
that is interesting.
But people are looking at me and saying, you should be dealing with it because that's your field and so on. And I think that position has kept me in good stead because of a recent experience that I've had, and I'm not going to go into it.
Right.
That I realized that if you get a revelation, then you can act on it. Right. So let's go back to...
That's interesting.
Right.
I can read between the lines right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so what I'm saying, though, is that I think the idea of persons labeling
Yeah.
If you're labeling, you have to know what you're talking about.
You have to know what you're talking about.
Right.
You can't just throw something out at the
right.
top of a hat.
Right.
You have to make sure that you go and you look at everything,
right,
you know,
right.
before you come to a conclusion.
Right.
Yeah. You have to do that before you come to a conclusion and say, this is what is happening, because we don't always know what is happening.
Right.
Yeah, as much as we are people of God.
Right.
And I'm taking it from that point, because, you know, we can be very legalistic in our ways of dealing with issues, instead of just allowing, you know, the processes to take its course, because there are ways that things can, as you say, come about, and you can understand that something is happening, and you can get a revelation, you can speak to that thing, and that thing can go, as opposed to you beat the pitney, you lick down the pitney, you throw a oil pan him, you do everything, you carry the whoop your man, everything, and nothing not change. No, man, we have to go to somebody else, because obviously something is now happening, and that is what is causing the child to be behaving the way they are. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So you can actually say out in the name of Jesus,
right.
and that thing lift up and gone, and the person is. But then when you throw oil, and you whop him skin. And you do everything. You put him out for sun, and you put the Bible over him head, and all these things. And I'm trying to make light of it, so that it, you know, that we can, because I can relate with these to these things. And then you see nothing happening. Obviously, no, you have to say, you know, something else could be wrong. Let me investigate it. Let's see what's happening. In what ways can the common mistake a parent make, or a caregiver makes a child struggle with their mental health? We make some common mistakes. What are some of those things that we can do?
Okay. I think the one that I encounter the most is when they adopt a wait and see approach. They notice something going on. But they're just saying, they're just passing through a phase. And especially because a lot of children, you know, they move from primary school to high school at a certain age. They're entering adolescence, so you know that there's a natural thing going on there. And so when you see the behavior change, you say, oh no, they're just going through a phase. And then you watch it, and then the problem is that they when it gets worse, then they seek help. And you see, the earlier you get an intervention done, is the more likely you would have a better outcome, whatever the cause of the problem is. You see, so even if it is a social problem, a psychological problem, a biological problem, it's always important to nip it in the bud, to attack it early, because that way you're more likely to forestall any negative outcomes. So adopting the wait and see. But you see, part of the problem is that it has to do with a mindset to say either the stigma is there where they don't really want to admit that there's a problem, or they think that a child shouldn't have a mental health
and I think
problem.
That can be a challenge where you're a new parent, you know, and you know, you see a child doing things that just seem to be normal, you know, like picnic playboy, picnic do certain things, them disrupt the class, you know, them turn clown, and you lick him in the head and you beat him and go to school, go learn. Me never tell you if you go clown, because in your mind, you know, this little boy just need to grow up, or you say, oh, he's immature and he needs some time.
He needs to settle down.
It's just a matter of time, man. I'm gonna grow it out.
Oh yes.
And then you don't realize, because you don't have persons around you too that would say to you, you know, maybe it is something, so you're just thinking that. So, you know, that can also be a challenge. How does a parent hold space for a child where they can just be honest, express themselves and they still feel safe? You know, how can you encourage a parent to, you know, because I think, as you said, the stigma that is attached to in our society now, we have to break some of these things.
Right.
Because we have to, the children are tomorrow.
The future.
They are the future.
Yeah.
They are going to make up the world. We're going to do that.
Yes.
And then
They
our
are going
grandchildren and great grandchildren, they are going to be here until Jesus Christ decide to return. So we want to make the nation healthier. And if we have healthy children, then the nation can be healthier. So how as parents do we hold space for the children where we can say to them, you know, we can let them talk and feel free.
Well, it's good that you say that, because we have a saying in Jamaica, and you know it.
Yes.
Children are to be seen
and not to be heard. I was having a conversation with
Right.
a mother about that.
We in Jamaica, but you see, it's not just children, you know, because sometimes when someone just get emotional and start to bawl, or start to cry out or shout, you find that everybody, the nice ones will come and hug them up and try stifle them. Yes, hug them up, you know, hush, trying to quiet them down. Or some people say, tapping eyes, well, you know. And it's the same thing with the children.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
First of all, children are supposed to play. Children are supposed to make noise. Children are supposed to be loud, right? So, to hush them up and to stop them from making noise is something that you really need to watch out for.
Yeah.
So that is allowing children to make noise, you really need to allow that. Allowing children to express themselves, right? Give them a forum to speak.
Right.
Let them, you know, because sometimes, and that's another thing, you see. Parents need to pay a lot of attention to their children, and they have to understand that parenting takes energy. And even when they're tired, the child may want to say something. They need to let them. They need to listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But to be willing to listen and not judge. You see, here's the thing, because you see, the child will feel comfortable talking to somebody about anything if the person won't judge. You see, because if the child says something and we criticize or we correct, no, just let the child speak. What you need is to get understanding. Understand what's going on. And sometimes you can say to the child, oh, you said so and so and so. What did you mean by that? I want to understand. Explain it to me.
Right.
So we have to allow them to talk. And we also have to watch them. One of the things that, as I said before, functioning is important. Social and academic social and occupational functioning. So the academic. So the parent needs to monitor the child's school performance. They need to know what's going on with their child, so they need to be having regular conversations with their teachers. And remember, I said any child that's not doing well academically, there is a problem. Let me explain to you. A child may be born with a learning problem. That can cause them not to function, but that's still some kind of mental issue, right? So they might have a problem with reading, they might have a problem with mathematics, or some other type of, they might have a problem with writing. So if there is a learning problem, it's going to show up in basic school as early as that.
Right.
And so you need to be able to say, okay, maybe we need to, how long are we going to watch this for? Give the child a little more time, but once we get to this point, no, we have to get the child assessed.
Right.
Okay. The other thing is that a child may have intellectual disability. Intellectual disability will impair their ability to learn. So, and what I'm saying is that this is something that you can spot early. Once they go to basic school, you'll be able to spot these things. So as I said, it is important for the parent to have a good relationship with the teachers and know what the child is doing. They also should monitor how the child is getting along in terms of their behavior and so on. But trust me, the academic performance is a very good indicator
that something is wrong with them mentally.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
As people of God, right? How can we play a role in supporting our children with their mental health issues?
Well, we have to allow them to be able to express negative emotions. We have to teach them, if you're sad, there's nothing wrong with being sad.
Yeah.
And you need to know how to deal with sadness.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that I've heard people might have said about children, sad, what him have to be sad about?
Yeah.
You know, we have to give them place to be sad. We have to give them place to be angry.
Yeah.
And we, the parents, might be the ones to make them angry. But we have to understand that dealing with negative emotions is a very important part of mental health. And so we have to teach them.
Right.
We have to teach them. And it's something that the parents should do. It's not the teacher at school. The parents, by modeling the proper behavior, should teach the children how to handle their emotions.
That's interesting what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because if our traumas are unchecked
Right.
as children,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
we've had trauma as children, but we didn't deal with that.
Didn't deal with it.
Then we have children,
Right.
but our traumas are seen as normal. Eh?
Right.
So we have different outbursts,
Mhm.
different behaviors
Right.
that we don't know that
Mhm.
something is wrong with that.
Right.
It's just, it's all right.
And behavior is learned.
Right.
Children imitate. So they are now learning something that is maladaptive, something that is, right. So we have to also be sensitive to our own problems and try to be, you see, to me, as an adult, we should always be working on ourselves.
Wow.
I'm a work in progress.
Always,
Yeah, I'm not what I'm supposed to be, but I'm not what I used to be. Right.
Yeah.
And so if adults are willing to work on themselves, then the children will learn that that is how it is.
Right.
So we're not talking about being perfect people.
Right.
We are just talking about people being in process. Growing and getting better every day.
Every single
day.
day.
So we have to be able to model that for the children.
My other question to you would be, who categorize what's normal and what's abnormal?
No, that's an age-old thing. But I think we have to look at what is functional, what is adaptive, what leads to positive outcomes, right? And I think that's the important thing, right? We know that human beings are social beings, right? We are born into families. We know that the nuclear family is very important.
Right.
There is the mother and the father, and then there are the children.
Yeah.
That is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
Now, that's a problem. I just realized that I need to mention this.
Yes.
That that many of our children in Jamaica, and I hear that it's 89%, 90% are born outside of wedlock. And then a large percentage of those born outside of wedlock are raised by single parents.
Right. I was just talking about that earlier.
Right.
Talked about that.
So that's a part of the foundation, and that's a part of the problem. So because you see, we're social beings, we are supposed to have a mother and a father, and we're part of a nuclear family, and we learn to relate to each other. You see, a child learns to relate to a man through the father,
right,
and a child learns to relate to a woman through the mother.
I love how you brought that up.
Yeah,
because there, on the weekend we had a retreat. We, a marriage retreat, and we had, family life. Kevin and his wife came to Mr. Bailey, and his wife came to talk to, and there were some statistics that they were sharing about the need of a man versus the need of a woman. And he said that in the rest of the world, what the man needs most is time, recreational time with a woman. That's like deemed number one in the world. But in Jamaica, what's deemed number one is respect.
Respect.
So I had a little chat with the Holy Spirit, and I said, and you can correct me because I ain't no psychiatrist around here, but I'm like, Holy Spirit, could it be that because so many homes here are single mothers.
Yes.
That men and how the women will talk to a man, or when he gets to an adolescent, she starts still to treat him like a boy.
Yes.
And so by the time she don't deal with him and kill him ego and everything, when him get a woman now, you can't deal with me, so and everything is a disrespect. So it becomes, it almost becomes
You're absolutely right.
it's like something is wrong, because why is there such a, like a man forget respect, and it's out of proportion. It's not. Something is wrong. And I sat in that room and I said, Holy Spirit, something wrong. And that thing just dropped in my spirit.
Yeah.
Because if a man and a woman is in the home, the woman knows how to speak to the man. Now, and somebody was asking, so my husband was saying to me, so what would you say then how a woman would treat a man? And I said, well, if she comes up, if a girl is in the home and is a single mother as well, and the man not take care of him pitney, he say, you all workless pooper, all whatever man, and all the bad things about man. So the girl grew up thinking, say, men are really not very nice. And I know from my experience growing up, I used to hear some things about man.
Yeah, man. The thing is that the men have been marginalized, and well, I don't know if I want to go back into history and talk about slavery and how the slave.
But that's where I went. But that's where I went eventually.
Well, I mean, that's probably
I
where
went
it's
there
coming
eventually,
from.
and my husband and I was talking to him about it. I said, Pat, I'm thinking about that it is trending from slavery. And he was like, how you get there? I said, I just don't know. I said, the Holy Spirit just tell me, say it's coming from slavery.
Yeah, man, because remember, the nuclear family wasn't really favored, because remember, slaves are property and they should be able to move them around easily.
Yes, man,
so you
talk
find
about
that
it.
the man's function was to propagate, to have as many
women and children, right.
So that that will benefit the slave owner. Right. And so they didn't encourage relationships. Right, and they didn't encourage families. Because you see, the owner could probably pick up somebody and sell them off to make some money or something like that. So that was encouraged, and so you find that the principle that exists today in our society, where the men are not reliable, the men have children all over the place, and they're not looking after their responsibility. Could have stemmed from that type of system. The problem with that is that, it was the man and the woman supposed to raise the children. So I lift my hat to the women, because the women have done a huge job of being mother and father. Right? The problem is that a woman just cannot be the father. But the thing is that the woman in Jamaica has been very responsible. Right? And that's another thing, because you find that if you look at the households, the girls are made to look after other children, look after the house. They have responsibilities, and a lot of the boys are not given responsibilities. So they learn that. You understand?
Amen.
So you find that's how this thing is being propagated.
Oh man! So you don't. So the boys. So it's coming from that system, because you raise. So if the woman now wash and cook and clean, because that is all her role is, And it stems that when we even come into a greater understanding, we still believe that the role of a woman is to wash, cook, and clean. And if she's not washing, cooking, and cleaning, hell and pour the house, I go find another woman.
Right, but then where is his responsibility?
He was supposed to go to work. Just go to work.
But him not bring
and when him come home, him just put up him foot. And him just call for glass of water and nothing else. So if the lady even not drop down dead, she still have to cook and clean. That is the problem I have, because I'm saying I'm raising my boys. And I'm saying, do not do that to your wife. She's a helpmeet. Go look what it mean. God made her out of your side. That means that she not less than you. You understand? She kind of hold up your head. So she is the neck. So you have to understand the role that she plays, and that is not the only role. Is not only for sex. nor to
Nor
I
to-
just had
nor-
this conversation,
cook.
nor to cook, wash, and look after the house while you do nothing. So if the woman is not, if you could do look washing, do look cooking to one,
Right.
yes, man, and help her.
Right. But you know, the system as it is, you know that it results in girls doing better academically than boys.
For sure.
Because they are more responsible.
For sure.
You see? And you find that in our society, women tend to be more trustworthy,
Mighty God.
you know, in terms of getting things done. So these are some of the issues that plague us, and it in the long run, because it has social and psychological ramification, it will affect our mental health.
And just generally the population of our nation.
Yes.
Because we're nation builders, right? Where we come from, that's what we are called to do as our entity and denomination of church. And if we are not raising our men, because what I believe happens because of that, all of what we just spoke about, then our men don't get the chance to be bold. They don't get the chance to have a certain position. They're shy and they're not, you notice when you call prayer meeting, I just woman alone a prayer. I'm just talking the reality of things, because I don't want us to think, I like us to talk about the issues that we can fix them.
Yes.
So when you call prayer meeting, you're not sinner, man.
Right.
And if you're even in a prayer meeting
Because
and you
the
said
discipline.
somebody pray, is the woman a kick down everything? And I understand, because pastor says a woman carries a womb. So she's able to intercede from that place. But it does not mean that a man does not have a responsibility, but it's because of how.
Right, we're socialized.
So-
You see, the sense of responsibility that women have, that's why they show up for prayer meetings. That's why they take on the prayer, And, I don't know, people sometimes look at it and say, well, maybe it's a man thing or a woman thing,
I'm not saying that God, because when God created man, right? I saw it plainly, and I read it over and over and over. He talked to him about what he was supposed to do.
Right.
So obviously, innately, he's a leader, right? But he did do work. He did do work. He named the animals. Right? He went out into the field and he did what he had to do. The woman also, she had her responsibility that the Proverbs 31 woman, she wasn't just sitting down at home. She was also responsible to kind of help him with what was, what needed to be done in the home. And so therefore there's still responsibility that a man is supposed to show up a certain way.
Right.
However, because the system is totally broken down because of sin, then everything is dysfunctional because you have women raising our boys, and it's just the woman alone raising the boys. They can't help themselves, and so by the time the woman gets the man would have already had and Dr. Billy spoke about it, because he was saying that you're just having this experience with his wife, and she called him to ask him where are you. And she say, and him say, she think me a boy. Well, she had check up on me for. But he said in his mind it was because of the fact that his grandmother used to check on, and so he realized that it was psychological, that it was an issue he had from he was a boy. But how much of our men are going
of the
inside to recognize that this behavior that they have, it's not one that is normal, and you can't be overly desiring. Because when he said Jamaica, the only one we give, me say something wrong.
What? Jamaica what?
Is the one who carries, the men talk about respect more than anywhere else in the world.
Respect.
They want respect, and that for them is having the final say. For some men, having respect is you have the final say about everything and you don't say anything. After I say put down the shoes, that is it. Don't ask me why you're putting down the shoes. And I'm saying, no, but we're supposed to talk about it.
Yes, we're supposed to talk about it.
However, Pastor Al did talk about it's not just about, what you say, but how you respond to situations like that. But then again, we did embark on something where we said, no, man, something is a little off where the men are just demanding respect and not recognizing that something can be off with you wanting that level of respect. You should want respect, but it should not be in that way where it seems like it's because some trauma is there and there's a trigger. If, I've had women say, oh, I just said something to my husband and he just got off. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. Nothing in me was trying to be disrespectful. And the man, I tell her, I said, no, and that I tried though.
Yeah. The thing is that if you have, they call it the matriarchal society, and the fact that you have the woman in charge, I suppose it kind of sets up a hierarchy where women are
it does.
superior or have the position of respect and authority. And so if you have so and it may very well be that the mother is there and the girls are there and then the boys below that. And so maybe that could be the reality.
My father used to say that.
Of many of
My
the...
father used to say that as a child being raised, how they looked at boys at the time. And I guess that could be because we're looking at children and we're looking at raising the children healthy. There has to be some level of understanding and wisdom in how we raise our children, because the boys are not to feel less than. I even noticed it when my boys were going to school. That in my time, you had a lot of male teachers. So, you were able to relate, but now you just have a lot of women teachers.
Right.
And they don't have husbands. And so they're in the high schools and they're calling you to complain about things that I'm saying. She thinks it her husband. Because the way how she's behaving, it's not showing that she's dealing with a child at school.
When you say that, what do you mean?
Because I had an incident where the teacher was complaining about the child.
A male child?
Yeah,
okay.
A male child. And she was saying that the way him treat me,
I see what you mean.
The way him treat me and the way him go on, and because him father have money, and that is why him go on. So and I'm saying
that don't sound like a child. That sound like a
man. No, honestly, me say it's our man because this is not. I'm saying she didn't miss a beat. She thought it was okay. She called the parents in to talk to the parents about that. She didn't recognize that it was something happening to her. It could be that from father wounds. I don't know. But the passion in which she didn't talk about academics. She didn't say, man, do him work, She said, wait, the way him talk to me, I give him an instruction and the way him was behaving and the way him was going on. And because him father have money, I say, how on earth she gets from being a teacher in the classroom to talk about because him father have money? That becomes a part of the conversation.
With the conversation, yeah, man. It's very clear that, and I've seen those, and I've been very uncomfortable when I see it. I say, wait, I mean, when you think about the age difference and all of that, but you say, wow.
Exactly. Because I was like, wow. I'm like, so you want to ask questions, you want to say, what's happening here, because it does not sound normal. But I'm just saying that these are the things that are happening in our society that is making the breakdown of the nuclear family that we are supposed to have.
Right.
Having the dysfunctionality that we're having as a nation.
And I guess I would like to make a plug for that, because I think that is one of the things of Christianity, that because we're promoting the lifestyle that God intended, the Creator intended, and and therefore it really needs. We need to promote it and let people realize that is what a society needs to move towards.
Right. That is what we're
very
supposed
important.
to meet.
And you see, the thing is that if we want to do something about mental health, then that would be a very, what is the word now? It wouldn't require too much money to implement something like that if people were to just change the lifestyle and just ensure that they live a certain way.
And what Dr. Bernard is saying is that we need to have men and women in the home more. So, try to work out the differences of your trauma from your experiences of growing up, because that is why marriage don't work. Marriage don't work because two people come into the marriage and they're different, and you were raised a certain way, you've had your trauma from a child, and you come into the marriage with those traumas. What is going to be very beneficial to us as we go towards that living is that we recognize how important it is for counseling to start very early when you meet a guy or a girl. You see, when I go to university, you know, spend 4 years to get the degree. You know what? My son say I do neuroscience, and when I speak to him, he's 20 years old. He's going to tell me when he's 30, I'm going to finish school. But when you get married, you do want 2 local counseling. 2 counseling sessions, or 3, if so much so. And you're going to live a lifetime with this person. And you don't spend the same amount of time and you don't give the same attention to prepare to enter into marriage. So, as Pastor Terrence says, we're going to have to change that narrative and encourage the nuclear family, woman and man, and then there becomes multiplication of children.
Yes.
We understand that other persons have other issues. We're willing to help. I know Pastor Bernard is willing to help.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you are having some challenges where that's not working because of your own trauma, we can talk about that, and we can help you to come into a better understanding of what the word says. Because, Pastor Bernard, if we were operating like that, oh my God,
We'd have a different society.
jeez and peace. Oh Lord, what would our nation look like if we went according to the principles of the word?
Of the word.
Half of the issues that we have in this nation, we wouldn't have
We
it.
wouldn't have it. Yes.
We wouldn't have it.
Maybe more than half.
Yeah.
You never can tell.
Yeah. So this is my final question to you. For a caregiver who is struggling, they see the signs and, they sense that something is off. I want you to, they don't know how to respond. I want you to share with them
Yes.
what they can do.
Okay, well,
To
the
give
thing is
them
that
the
you're right,
relationship.
we need to make sure that before I leave, we talk about the services that are available.
Yes.
Because the number one problem, as I said before, is procrastination. We need to try and intervene, and professional intervention is probably the best way to go, right? But the thing is that so the parent notices something. I think, as I said, the parent should be in dialogue with the school teacher, because the child spends a lot of time at school. They spend a lot of time at home.
Yeah.
So the parent-teacher
relationship
is very important. And so the parent needs to talk to the teacher about the child and get as much information from there. The teacher, and some schools have guidance counselors. So the guidance counselors in particular are very helpful, because the guidance counselors are a type of mental health professional.
Right.
That is at the first point of contact.
Yes.
Right. They have the kind of training to do some level of counseling, and they are also aware of the different services that are available.
Right.
Right. Now, another resource person is the family doctor. The general practitioner, when they go through medical school, they learn about all the different social services, psychological services. And so if you have a child that you're concerned about, because you do take them to the doctor for a checkup,
right,
or when they are ill.
Right.
In our society, school children have to present some kind of medical every year. So we do visit the general practitioner, and so if there's a problem,
right,
we can discuss it with the general practitioner. And remember, my concern really is that we must not procrastinate. We must not adopt a wait and see approach. And so as soon as you see something on your next visit to the general practitioner, you could always discuss it with them. They would know who to recommend that you go to, right? And I think that's important because
Yeah.
if the child needs specialist care,
Yeah.
if the child needs to do some kind of psychological assessment or some kind of educational assessment, the general practitioner would have some idea who to refer to.
Yeah.
And so the general practitioner would also know whether or not the child needs to see a psychiatrist like
Right.
myself,
Right.
or a psychologist, or
Right.
counselor,
Or a counselor.
or somebody.
Right.
So I think that is a basic thing. Now, a lot of parents love to take the children to the pediatrician.
Right.
And the pediatrician is even more aware of the
Of
services
the services.
that are available.
Right.
And so they can make that recommendation. So that is what I would recommend.
Very good.
I don't think that the parents should try and take it on to sort the child out themselves.
Yeah.
You know, because you're a parent, you're not a professional.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a certain professionalism in the relationship if you're going to help a child.
Right.
And so it's important for you. You can always learn from the professional. What can I do as a parent? How can I be different? What can I change about what I'm doing? All of that is important. But in terms of really helping the child, you need to get professional involvement.
That's very important. This was really an amazing time.
Really?
Yes, man. Don't it,
Aw.
Kenil? Yeah, very informative. I've learned so much and also got some of the things that I thought were just things in my head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because sometimes you think, stop thinking like that. You're crazy. And then just to hear it, you know, that it's really God giving me some rhema revelation, because, you know, we have to be a part of this change for this nation. And who else will God use but His people?
His people.
Yeah.
Amen.
And so I'm super grateful to have you sitting on the couch. I'm sure I'll have you here again, because you never ever come on the couch one time. So there are other things that we will talk about in the future. But for now, I thank you so very much. Thank you for your services to this nation and to our children. We appreciate you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Good
So I'll
having
see you
you.
next week. Ta-ta. Bye.
Hi, my name is Simone Mignot, and I am a personal and business coach. I help individuals with their personal growth and development while gaining clarity and direction. My approach is focused, God-centered, and very intentional. It's not a quick fix. So if you feel stagnant and you need clarity, please feel free to visit my website, SimoneMignot.com.
Gotta see the kingdom of truth, yeah. Sometimes in life you feel defeated, but it's not over. Hold on, don't give in. You're passing through your testing season. Where is your faith? You gotta win. You gotta win. Oh yeah. Gonna win. Purpose brought you through, yeah.
That you understand that you need coaching to be able to live your best life, and so you own that. My coaching for my life, so that I can be the best version of myself.